we're gonna look at the attack vector of XML external entities, or XXE for short. So XML uses a functionality that most developers don't know about. With XML you can define external entities. First I want to show you how you can define an entity. Well, maybe you know them from HTML. You can define an entity like this. In this case the entity's name is bar and the value is user. So if I, in my XML document, use the notation and entity name semicolon, like this occurrence of the entity will be replaced by the content of the entity, in this case the string user. So why is this security relevant? Well, let me show you an example of a possible attack. So DOS attack, so denial of service. You can crash a server with this. It's called the billion laughters attack. And what you do essentially is you define an entity. In this case we call it lol1, and it uses the entity lol. And the entity lol is just a string lol. That's why we call it billion laughters. And you use this string lol 10 times in your entity. Then you define another entity, lol2, where you use the entity lol1 10 times. So every of these expansions of the entity will have 10 lols, and then you define a new identity where you use this identity 10 times. So every identity here has the word lol 10 times 10 times. So as you can see, this grows exponentially with the amount of lols, the amount of entities we have, and by the entity lol9 we already have 10 to the power of 9 lols, which is a billion lols, which are billion laughters. So if an XML parser on the server side, for example, expands all this, it will very fast run out of memory. Oh, this is a DOS attack, just an example. But what makes this really interesting are actually external entities. So turns out if it's activated, and in most parsers it is activated by default, you can use external entities marked with the system keyword. So you define an entity as you would, use the system keyword, and then the content of the entity will actually be fetched out of a file, not out of a string. So if you, for example, set your username here in this XML document to this entity, and then you submit this XML document here to a server, and the server parses this XML document, and you get your username issued back to the website, then you can actually leak files, arbitrary files of this server. Another type of method, in case the username is not issued back to you on the website, you can still exfiltrate data with blind XXE techniques. There are really a lot of techniques for blind XXE. I'm just gonna show an example here. This uses an external document type definition. Oops, sorry. So this external document type definition is listed here, and it uses again a external entity to read arbitrary files, in this case source code of the application that we want to have, and it then defines an entity, in this case RRR, that uses system external entity that does a callback, in this case to an FTP server that we control. This is a bit of a weird syntax, and we need this to fool the XML parser and to use this document type definition to do something that the XML parser in the document itself would not directly do. So this will forward the source code of the website to our FTP server, and to do so we will call this external definition. It's a bit for a weird syntax here, and after we've done that we open a tag. This tag is here, it's a doctime definition, and then we actually call the entity that was expanded here. So this is a bit of a trick to trick the XML parser into doing something it would normally not do. As I've said, there are a lot of blind XXE techniques. You will have to use one in the tasks this week, and what I want to mention here is that usually XXE is used to leak files off the system, but in some circumstances it can also lead to direct remote code execution. For example, if you use PHP and the expect stream wrapper is installed, sometimes that's the case, then you could use an entity and do something like use the expect stream wrapper and then just execute arbitrary code.